Thank you so much. It is a delight to be here with all of you. For some of you, that niggin might have been a nice throwback to traditional memories of the Seder and family. For some of you, it might have just brought fear into your heart. Jews have really different relationships to not the Seder itself, but to preparing for the Seder. And so, as I was thinking about this sit, I just really wanted to start to prepare myself for the Seder, for the holiday, in a way that had nothing to do with cleaning the outer world, but allowing for some spaciousness and maybe even some cleaning and purification inside. So when I saw that this spot was open, just a couple of days before we go into Passover, I was like, oh my gosh, is this crazy to do? And then I was like, no, this is perfect. So um, I thank you for being my spiritual community to help me go inside as I'm focusing so much on external practices for this holiday. It feels really good to have a little time to be inside. So, I wanted to look briefly as a way of focusing our practice this morning at something from the Haggadah, something from the Seder ritual. And so, I have a source sheet that's going to be in the chat, but I'm going to say everything, and you don't really need to see it. But in a Haggadah, standard kind of traditional Haggadah, there's an invitation towards the beginning for karpas, right? Karpas, which is your spring vegetable, right? Your sign of spring, usually greens, but not only. Take from the greens, dip it into the salt water, say the blessing who creates the fruit of the earth, and have in mind that this blessing will also be for the maror, for the bitter herbs. Eat without reclining. So I was thinking about this simple part of the Seder that I really don't focus on that much. It just seemed to actually include major themes of the Seder and also, for me, resonate with how I'm feeling. So I wanted to explore it a little bit with you. And I just want to first of all say that this is an Ashkenazi uh, minhag to dip in salt water. And I know that other um, Adot, other Jewish communities dip their karpas in vinegar. And that's a whole interesting other thing that we may or may not get to. But why do we eat the karpas? I alluded to the fact that it's a sign of spring. Passover, we're told, has to always happen in the springtime. It's Chag HaAviv. In this month of Nisan, the Hebrew month we're in right now, that's the time that we get to say the blessing for blossoming fruit trees. We're supposed to look around and be renewed in the same way that the earth is renewed for those of you who are in a time zone where that's not what's happening, I'm sure there are other, interpretations, but I will tell you that in my own town of Berkeley in California, the world is just, while the news is saying one thing, the natural world is just saying grow, grow, celebrate, delight, bud, and blossom. And yet, that's not the only story of Passover that we're telling. We have a lot of different elements, and we are taking that freshness, that newness, that renewal, and we are dipping it in something salty or sour. We are remembering as we say the blessing, not only the greens, but also the bitter herbs, karpas and maror, freshness and bitterness. And really, we do that throughout the Seder, this both and freshness and bitterness. Later, right before we go into everybody's favorite Shulchan Orech, where we eat the meal, we have korech. We have the sandwich, right? Where we have matzah and the sweet charoset and the bitter herbs, right? And so we're constantly in this ritual, not only thinking about what it is to bring bitterness and sweetness or freshness together, disappointment and hope, frustration and delight. We are actually eating it. We are internalizing it. We are embodying it. We are making it a part of ourselves. And I think there's a deep teaching here, reminding us this is what a body is. A body holds both and all the time. As we sit, we might feel a sense of pleasure and calm, even as we're feeling some ache or pain, physical or spiritual. Rabbeinu Bachya, Spain from the 13th century, teaches the major ingredient of salt is water. Due to the power of the sun which shone upon it, it turns into salt. In other words, salt represents a fusion of the elements fire and water, which in the mystical tradition is a combination of chesed and din, of gvura, of mercy and justice. And so even in this one element that we're dipping into, we have the thing and its opposite, salt and water, which we're reminded by Rabbeinu Bachya are not actually separate things. They are components of one another, both and. And so for our practice, I'd like to invite you into experiencing the both and, into the all. Glennon Doyle wrote, "There is beauty to be found in the pain. Life is brutal, but it's also beautiful. Life is brutal." So we're going to have a brutal practice, letting it all in. So I invite you to get into whatever posture will be most aligned with your intention for your practice today. So if for you right now, lying down will be the way that you can be most present, feel free to lie down or to sit in your chair. If you're in a chair, you might want to even move forward to the edge of the chair to allow your spine to just rise up as tall, like the trunk of a tree rising to the sky. If you're on a cushion, you might just notice, or a chair, or the ground, how the ground is meeting you, whether it's in your feet, or your tush, or your whole body. Just notice how your body's being supported in this moment. And allow yourself, if you like, just to release into it for a moment, just to see what happens. Mark mentioned wanting to maybe bring a little trust in. Maybe we can just see what happens if we trust the ground to hold us just this moment of this practice. What might that feel like? And as we do that, we just might notice what's true in our bodies. There might be something in your body that's really clamoring for attention. And without needing to fix it or adjust to it, maybe we can offer our attention and notice what's happening there, even as it may change. And maybe right now you're just getting a general scan of your body, noticing the circulation, noticing your temperature. Maybe you're even noticing some expansion or some tightness. What a gift just to be able to notice. Maybe you're noticing some expansion and some tightness. Maybe more than one thing is happening in the body. And maybe that's just the way it is right now. And we can notice what it feels like to accept all the sensations as they arise and fall away. You may notice, as part of noticing your body, your breath. What's the quality of your breath in this moment? And if focusing on the breath for you is difficult for any reason, feel free just to focus on the rest of the body. But if you'd like to pay attention to your breath, that can also be a trust practice. Is the inhale going to arise? Is the out breath going to expel? Relaxing into trusting the body, trusting the breath, trusting the one who sends the breath for all. I'd like to suggest maybe the in-breath, noticing its truth, and the fact that we call it the in-breath and we call it the out-breath is just our way of categorizing what's happening, but it's all breath, in, out. That's how breath works for us. It is breath. And the oppositions are really one united mechanism, one united process. Maybe that's true for the classic mind-body problem of the philosophers. What is the spirit versus the body? The liquid parts of us versus the solid? Can any of us actually truly be separated? Or maybe we are one whole. How do we bear the oppositions inside of us? The body knows. The body does it constantly, perhaps without even recognition that they are opposites. They are experience. As we continue practicing, placing our attention on the sensations of the body or the breath, you might want to just take a moment to decide what will be the anchor for your practice that you place your attention on. Is it one place in the body? Is it the general body sensation? Is it the dynamic process of the breath? Or maybe you're in a place where there's a lot of noise, and just putting your focus and attention on the sounds around you would be a beneficial practice. As you focus on whatever you've chosen for your anchor, I invite you to remember that even in our short practice today, it's likely that all of our attention is going to wander at some point to other thoughts, past or future. And that's just what happens. And we can notice it, allow it, and then check in with our intention to place our intention once again on our anchor. In this practice, we don't pass over. We don't move over an experience. That may be what the divine does at this time of year. But when we have an experience, we notice it, we allow it. We allow ourselves to dip ourselves into it. We notice all the bitter and the blossoming, the in and the out, all the beautiful. We'll practice. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. As I close our practice, I'd like to first dedicate the teaching and the practice to my dear friend, Rachel Brody, on her yahrzeit that was this week. And I'd like to close with a poem by Rabbi Sharon Cohen Annisfeld. The entire Seder is an invitation to taste the tears and hopes of our ancestors, to hold them close, to know that we have been here before. We have been in narrow places and we have left them behind. We have stumbled suddenly upon wide open places, possibilities opening within us, before us. Karpas is the first taste. Take your tears. Take mine. Take all the tears. Go back as far as you can and put them in a bowl. Pass them around the table. Don't let them become a bottomless well of grief. Dip. Don't drown. A voice beckons. Mother, father, lover, friend. Tender, trembling slightly. Darling, don't forget. Not all hope has to be hard earned. Sometimes it just comes if you let it. Winter ends, blossoms reappear, birds return, love rises again. So will you. Ken Yehi Ratzon.
Ken Yehi Ratzon. Thank you, Dorothy. So thanks so much. So beautiful as always. Friends, let's seal the beautiful practice. An opportunity for those of you who are in mourning or observing a yard site, or if it's your custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish, you can do so. If you're not reciting Kaddish, please stay present for a few minutes to support those who are in mourning. You can put the name or names of those you're honoring today in the chat. I'm honoring memory of my cousin, Arthur Abramson, and if you'd like to put the name or names of those you're remembering in the chat now or after we recite Kaddish, you're welcome to do so. And if you're joining me, please rise in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yikadal, Yikadash, Shemei Rabbah, Almad, Rach, Benif, Malchutei, Chayechon, Uvyomechon, Uchaye, Techol, Beit Yisrael, Ha'agala, Ha'arim,
Amen.
Hey Shmei Rabban, Barach, Adonai, Eloheinu, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yipa'ar, Yitramam, Yinaseh, Yithadar, Yitaleb, Yithalal, Shmei Kusha, Barichu,
Riku.
Eila, Mikol, Birchata, V'Shivata, Shush B'chata, V'Nechamata, Ta'amiran, B'Alma, V'Ru,
Amen.
Hey Shlama Rabba Mishmaya, Chaim Aleinu,
Call Israel,
Amen. Oseh Shalom
Amen.
Yimamav, Uyaseh Shalom. Amen. Kol Yisrael, Kol Yoshei Ru.
Amen.
Friends, thanks for joining us today. If you're leaving us now, just a reminder, we'll be here tomorrow. Rabbi Robin Damsky will be leading us in practice tomorrow. I forgot to mention at the beginning that because we'll be closed on Friday in preparation for Pesach, there's no sit on Friday, and there is no sit next Monday, but we will be here Tuesday through Friday next week for Chol Hamoed, the intermediate days of Passover. So we'll look forward to sharing that Passover journey together, and then of course we'll pick up again the following week. If you are staying on, feel free to join us. And if you have a question you'd like to ask Rabbi Dorothy about the teaching or any aspect of the practice, you can just drop that in the chat. If it's a question, uh, preface it by writing question all in caps, but feel free to share your reflections on your experience in the chat. It's always really rich, always wonderful resources. And thanks to Andrew Schumann for holding our text space today as well. Dorothy, thanks so much. Before we open the doors for people to come in, I was telling you about, you know, the leftovers I have from Pesach 5784 of pickles and confectioner's sugar, sour and sweet. And you said, that's what we're doing. And you were right. um, so I love how brought our awareness to holding paradox and holding both and in the Seder. Love that we say the same blessing for the karpas, for the vegetable, and for the maror, for the bitter. Um, and you kind of alluded to it while we were practicing, but I guess my question for you is I'm wondering about, in a time when nuanced thinking and embracing complexity is not it's kind of a struggle these days for a lot of people. This idea of both and is, I think, very important. And I guess my question really is, how does that show up in mindfulness practice? I mean, I can tell you how I got it from what you were saying, but I wonder if you have a response to that about how that helps us hold complexity.
Thank you for the question. It's really, mindfulness has been such a transformative corrective to my Western education. And what I mean, I was going to say rabbinical, but I think it goes way beyond that. I think that part of being a student and a student of Jewish text is developing an analytical mind and being able to be a critical reader. And
Mhm.
I think those are such valuable things. Like I wouldn't trade them for anything. Like I worked really hard to get all of those skills and they serve me well. Um, but the hard part about looking at the world critically and analytically is that it divides. It's a constant Havdalah.
Mhm.
This is this is that, this is that, right? And that's how and we need those things, that's how we excel in all kinds of areas. But actually, as physically embodied beings, all of those analytics are constructs.
Mhm.
And the way that we act, the way that I actually experience the world is not, oh, I'm seeing this and that. I'm doing it all at once. I'm happy, sad. I'm tired, awake.
Mhm.
I'm hot, cold. I'm like all the things, right? And to talk about them, I have to parse them out. But there's no time in a live human body's experience that you are either body or soul, that you are either liquid or solid. Like, that's not how we actually work. And it's practice that allows me to hold it because practice allows me to notice what is so obvious once I'm out of my category making and I'm in to my physical sensation.
Mhm.
Once I'm in my physical sensation, it's not that I read it somewhere and I'm like, "Oh yes, both and." I'm like, "Oh,
Right.
yeah, that is what I experience. That is what's happening right now, however I feel about it." And so, for example, as I've just, with the different things happening in the world that are just, I don't even have I don't have good words for how disruptive and precarious things feel. it's also as true that when I go outside and I walk my dog, it's gorgeous. Like there's a symphony of color.
Hmm.
And that's not me trying, to create something, that's just me actually noticing and accessing the fullness of this moment.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
That's the new word for my vocabulary. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. It's really fantastic. Beautiful. Um, now I'll share what I was thinking.
Yeah.
As always, whenever a mindfulness teacher in a meditation says, and of course, our minds will wander, I feel a wave of relief, and
Yeah.
maybe others do as well. Say, oh, it's not just me. Um, that's part of it, right? And I think that also was a little bit of a both and moment for me. I think that yes, I am practicing anchoring my attention in breath, body, sensation, sound, whatever the anchor is. And my mind is actively wandering around.
Yes.
I'm here and I'm not here. I'm here and I'm not here. And it's okay. Not only is it okay, like that's how it is. And you sort of said, like, like we're so trained to, like, get it right and to have the answer. And we think the answer is, well, the answer is I should be present, I should be anchored in this breath. And when I'm not, it's not, something's off. And so that's another, like, just a little way, I think, of practicing every time we come to that. For me, it's always then the meta awareness of, oh, right, it's okay to wander. Okay, that's okay. In fact, it's good because then you get to come back. So that's even, that's better. It's better than never having wandered in the first place. So there's something about that is, I'll say, in the spirit of the season, it's liberating, right? Because it's stressful to think I got to get it right. They like holding that complexity is liberating. It's freeing. Say, oh, maror and sweet vegetable. There's there's a blessing in all of it.
I'm glad you said that. I hear this so often. I even heard it last night. There's this idea, I don't know, somehow that practice is quieting the mind and
Hmm.
having this, like I picture this room with like big white sofas. I've never lived in a house with like I'm not the kind of person who should have a white sofa. But right, like this clean, you know, untouchable space. And like there might be moments. Like I don't want to say what practice is or it isn't, but for
Hmm.
most of us, most of the time, it's got a lot of jangle and clash in it. It's got a lot of noisiness. And I often think of it as a compassion practice, right? Because it's exactly what you're talking about. The
Hmm.
goal isn't to get to the perfect white sofa room, right? The 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 practice is that I'm noticing what the state of my mind is. Right? Oh, I'm super jangly today. Okay,
Hmm.
that's probably good
Hmm.
information for me to have. What do I need? What tools do I have to meet that? Right? Oh, this thing keeps coming up. Oh, okay, good to know. Right? But at the same time, I think as much as anything else, the practice is saying, oh, yeah, that's what happens. Okay, sweetheart. Okay, darling.
Hmm.
Right? And that acceptance, right, of the both and of it doesn't have to be, you know, we both, learned a lot from Rabbi Sheila Peltz Weinberg, right?
Hmm.
But I
Hmm.
love how she just says, you already have the gold star. You already have the A.
Hmm.
Anytime you sit, you're already just by doing it, you just got the A. You know, what would happen if we just released into now whatever happens is my practice.
I want to thank Elon, who wrote in the chat lyrics from Stephen Sondheim's Company, a song that basically also is a great song for both and. You're always sorry, you're always grateful, you're always wondering what might have been. Then she walks in, and still you're sorry, and still you're grateful, and still you wonder, and still you doubt. And she walks out. Um, Thank you for that, and also for lots of other beautiful comments here about the both and. You know what you said, Dorothy, about it being a compassion practice. I'm going to see if I can share my screen a sec. And on your handout, that
Yeah.
second, that Bachya,
Yes.
Rabbeinu Bachya about salt, was also a beautiful little teaching about salt being kind of the integration of fire and of the elements of fire and water fusion, calls it, I guess, here. Um, and then I assume in the Hebrew there, the covenant is a combination of the attributes of mercy and justice, which I'm assuming there is chesed and gevura,
Yes.
which are the first two sefirot we'll be doing in the Omer, right? Um,
Exactly.
and um, just to invite you to riff on this a little bit in terms of we thinking about that, the fire and the water, I guess the water is chesed, yeah, there would be
Yeah. Yeah.
fire might be deen. So the wandering mind is chesed, it has no boundaries. It's going all over the place, right? Doesn't have to be anchored in anything. But then Gevura or Deen is that focus. And so compassion, which would be Tiferet, the next
Yeah.
one, is the capacity to hold both, right? The fire and the
Exactly.
water. So we're the salt, we're the salt in that water. I also love that Sharon Cohen Amsfeld's dip, don't drown. That's a good takeaway for us right now too. Dip in the tears and pass it around and don't drown. Anyway, so I just like when you said that it's a compassion practice. That's be the salt. But by the way, is I also have salt from last year too.
Well, that's,
So I got the sweet, the sour, and the salty.
the thing that's really, got me about the salt water, and there's a lot in it. There's just a lot in it. But the thing about the salt and the water is these two components that we feel like are opposites from one another, like fire and water,
Mhm.
right? Are actually depending in a drop of salt water, it's either salt or water depending on where we see it in the process.
Mhm.
Like the way that we actually experience it physically could be either. You know, this salt water, if I leave it out long enough, it's going to just be salt. This salt water, if I add it to a big pitcher, it's going to be water, right? Like there's just something helpful to me in knowing that these things that seem different really, you don't have to be on even a cellular level to see that they're actually the same thing at different
Mhm.
parts of their journey. And I don't know if I'm a mystic. I know that I love mystic teachings and practices. I think I'm yearning to be a mystic. I think I'm a not yet mystic, you
I don't know.
know.
I'll take your word for it, but I don't know.
Maybe I just am and
I
maybe I'm
kind
just
of I have my suspicion.
I think I want to, like I think I guess the thing is I'm saying I don't live in that space 24/7, but I've touched it,
Mhm.
right? But I think that it's not this other world. What I'm trying to say is it's not this abstract concept.
Right.
It's just a way of noticing the depth of the world. And if, you know, not to plug, but to plug the Omer journey, I'm going to be,
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to want to make sure you said a word
well,
before we.
that's really what it's about in some ways. We're going to be going deep into Rebbe Nachman of Bratslав's story, The Seven Beggars. over 7 weeks of the Omer. And the thing about this story, which is so wild, I mean, there's so much that's wild. It's a psychedelic story, period, right? It just opens out into story after story. But the kind of organizing principle is there are these seven beggars, and each one of them has some kind of a deficiency or handicap so that they are seen in the world as less than. They
Mhm.
don't have this, they don't have that. But
Mhm.
in the true world, right? In the united world and not the fragmented world, in the world of the mystic, they actually have a superpower. And so, what appears in our world to be deficient is actually in the spiritual world a superpower.
Right.
And I'm so taken by that concept because it feels medicinal in this moment to know that some of the things that I'm looking at and feeling helpless about, right? That there's at the same time, not to eliminate that, but both and there's another level of reality where things look totally different, where different things are valued and different things are true. So it's been really healing to spend time
Mhm.
in this tale, in this
Great.
story.
Great.
So if you're interested, Mark, Andrew,
Andrew
thank
put
you.
the yeah,
Andrew
Andrew put
posted
the
the
link in.
link.
Uh-huh.
There's more information online. Um, and if if you want to join us and there's some obstacle to that, just let me know, and we'll help you out.
All right. Well, Dorothy, as always, big treat to get to learn and practice with you. So thank you so much. And thanks to
Delightful.
Andrew. Thanks to Andrew. Thanks to each of you for being here. And we hope to see you tomorrow. Practice with Robin Damsky, everyone. Until then, be safe and well. Many blessings.
Akasher v'sameach.
Like, share the sameach to you too.